Does hair go gray from stress? Well, that's actually a complicated question, so let's not stand around. Let's dig in and start with the most famous person to go gray from stress. Paris, France, on the night of June 20th, 1791. 2 years after the famous storming of the Bastille, the French Revolution against the deeply broken French monarchy was getting hot for the bumbling King Louis XVI and his queen, Marie Antoinette. They had convinced themselves that while the city of Paris was hostile to them, the country at large was supportive. And so they devised a plan. 10,000 loyal troops under General François-Claude de Bouilly awaited them at Montmedy, and they were going to join them. That night, the royal couple boarded a big, heavy carriage pulled by a team of 6 horses, which stood out like a sore thumb in the countryside. Their advisors recommended small, fast, and less obvious carriages, but that wasn't grandiose enough for the proud pair. They had managed to travel all but 50 kilometers of the 240 to Montmedy before they were recognized, arrested, and confined in Paris at Tuileries Palace. Not exactly like getting locked up at Chateau d'If, but still. The next morning, the delicate Queen Marie Antoinette's hair had apparently turned completely white from the stress. In case you're wondering what happened to them, a year later, in 1792, Louis XVI was convicted and executed for treason. Marie had been imprisoned and had her trial soon after, where she was accused of treason, having orgies in the royal palace at Versailles, stealing money from the French state, and having an incestuous relationship with her son. The court found her guilty, and she met her famous end on a guillotine, her last words being, "Pardon me, sir, I did not do it on purpose," after she accidentally stepped on the executioner's foot. But back to the gray hair. She was not the only one that had their hair go white because of stress. Sir Thomas More sided against King Henry VIII, a king who enjoyed solving his problems by chopping off people's heads. Unfortunately for More, he was one of these problems and lost his head. On his last night on this earth, imprisoned in the Tower of London, his hair went white. In the 13th century, Louis II, Duke of Bavaria, found out his wife was unfaithful to him while he was busy suppressing revolts. You know, normal aristocrat things. After having her killed to avenge this grave slight, the poor man had a flashback to her murder and was horrified, his hair turning white. He was clearly the real victim here. This woman was photographed at Charité University Hospital in Berlin in 1937, days after the German secret police arrested her spouse, with her hair completely gone white from the stress. The condition has been called Marie Antoinette Syndrome and officially canietis subita. It is sometimes associated with alopecia areata or spot baldness. However, in 2013, Dr. Michael Naum et al. Published a paper studying 196 cases of historic Marie Antoinette Syndrome. They found that only 22 of those cases were related to spot baldness. So it seems they are not in fact always related. But the question we sought to answer here was, does your hair go grayer due to stress? Well, Marie Antoinette Syndrome is an extreme and rare example, and likely will not impact your beautiful head of hair.
Simply apply Just for Men, and in 5 minutes, rinse. Just for Men blends away the gray for a totally natural look. No wonder 8 out of 10 women prefer the Just for Men look to the gray look.
It's like you took off 10 years.
And in just 5 minutes.
And while scientists now acknowledge that the stories of people going gray quickly from extreme stress is indeed possible, it is still a very poorly understood phenomenon. What is fairly well understood, though, is that your hair is very sensitive to stress. Dr. Eva M.J. Peters did a study in 2017 on young female students who were taking a major exam for school, and found that, among other things, their hair growth had actually slowed during the time leading up to the exam, and then went back to normal after. If exam stress can cause a student's hair growth rate to change, it stands to reason that other hair-related things like hair loss or graying are possible. In testing done on mice, it was demonstrated that putting them under nociceptive stress stimuli caused them to permanently lose their melanocyte cells, which are responsible for replenishing the pigment in their hair. If this applies to humans in the same way, then periods of high stress will cause you to permanently burn out your melanocyte cells too. But we don't know that for sure yet, since mice aren't exactly the same as humans. And quite frankly, that's probably a good thing right now, since you or I could have been stuck into a stress machine to see if our hair will go gray. So, does stress make your hair go gray? The answer is, probably. Long-term stress, in general, has a lot of effects on the body. Besides the immediate effects of stress hormones, it could leave you open to a weakened immune system, increased risk of heart attack, high blood sugar causing a risk of type 2 diabetes, low sex drive, depression, headaches, insomnia, heartburn, fertility problems, erectile dysfunction, and missed periods. So even if it doesn't make your hair go actually gray, living in a state of constant stress is not good for your health. Well, that about wraps up the subject. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, subscribe, and maybe even leave some feedback in a comment if you want to support more stories like this, and check out my other videos.